I've already clicked the wildcard button for Game Week 8. It is locked in. Let's have a look at how my first draft looks for Game Week 8. Okay, so let's start with the defense and keeper situation. A lock in my team, and probably a lock in every single team right now, is the Bradford £4 million playing keeper. He's going to stay there. Now, let's talk about the rest of the defense, because that's where it gets a bit more interesting. I've gone with Timber and Nick Pope. I'm going to speak about them as a combination, because the other real combination, obviously, that some people might say go with, is obviously Raya and Dan Burn. The reason why I want to go with Pope and Timber over Raya and Dan Burn and maybe like rejig funds and stuff is, first of all, Pope rates quite well in terms of like the baseline bonus point system, which is obviously a massive positive. I feel like with David Raya, it's either going to be a 6-pointer or a 2-pointer. In terms of, we know Arsenal are going to keep a clean sheet. Is David Raya really going to make many saves? The answer to that question is no. Which is why Raya probably has, let's say, a lower chance of keeping clean sheets, even though defensive data, Newcastle are second behind Arsenal. But overall, you probably say Pope has more chance of, first of all, making save points, getting that bigger haul. Can Pope have a higher chance of getting that 7 to 10 pointer than Raya? I think the answer to that question is yes. And the reason why I also want to go with this combination is, with Dan Burn, he's going to play a lot at left back because obviously Newcastle, a couple of injuries at the back and stuff. And I feel like when he's playing at left back, it just ruins his DEFCON potential. And if his DEFCON potential decreases, do I really want to go with him? The answer to that question is probably no. And I'd rather go with a high upside in Timber, in terms of Timber, 3 of the first 7 games so far in the Premier League, he has an extra of over 0.3 in 3 of the 7 games. That is incredible for a defender. We are talking Trent Alexander-Arnold numbers in terms of expected goals in goal involvement. Like, it is incredible how highly involved Timber is. The only thing we know is Timber will probably get the odd benching here and there. Listen, I'm happy to take that risk and deal with it because I know and have faith that Timber in open play can do so much damage. And also, he's part of the best defense in the Premier League. And listen, I also want to, let's say, differentiate my team enough from how a Game Week 8 wildcard will look to a Game Week 6. A lot of people in Game Week 6 obviously had Raya and, let's say, an Arsenal defender. They might have not had that Newcastle coverage, which is why I think Pope is massive for my team. Timber's obviously massive. Gabriel is a lock anyway. We know the aerial presence Gabriel has. We know, listen, he's actually surprisingly not picking up quite a lot of DEFCON this year. I saw a stat the other day where Gabriel this season has already picked up more DEFCON than he did last year. And it's only been 7 games. Like, that is incredible kind of thing, isn't it? So, listen, Gabriel is going to be a lock. And I think Gabriel is in pretty much every single wildcard team from 6, 7, and 8. And even 4. Like, you probably have Gabriel in your team. Senesi, the other one. Bournemouth, let's say, over the next coming games, don't, let's say, have the best fixtures in terms of, they have Crystal Palace next. That's a tough game. After that, Nottingham Forest, you can argue that's quite easy depending on the end situation. Man City, Aston Villa after that. So those are, let's say, not the best games on paper, but we know with Senesi, DEFCON potential is a joke. He's got it in 6 of the 7 games. The only game that he hasn't got it was last game, and he came off early, which I do think was more game state dependent in terms of Bournemouth obviously chasing the game, wanting a goal. Also, with Senesi, I've been very, very impressed in terms of Senesi in open play. Like, I'm not too sure how many people watched the Fulham game. And especially for the first, like, let's say, 60 minutes, I don't think Bournemouth were brilliant. And I don't think Senesi was brilliant. But a lot of the time, a lot of, let's say, Bournemouth's attacking danger came from just a ball over the top from Senesi. And of course, like, Senesi weren't great in terms of a lot of the time, his execution with the passes weren't the best. But it was crazy how on another day, he could have had like 1 or 2 assists just from a ball over the top. Or let's say not assists, like chances created just from that ball over the top. It was an incredible kind of thing, isn't it? Richards is the other one, 4.5 million defender that I have on the bench. Listen, as I said, first of all, rates very, very well with DEFCON. Crystal Palace are one of the stronger defenses in the Premier League, so I'm going to have him in. I want some sort of Crystal Palace coverage. Other player, 4 million defender I've got is Joe Rodon. This is for an eye for a Game Week 9 bench boost where Leeds have West Ham at home. I think that's a good fixture. Also, Leeds defensively, their data is very, very good. I think for expected goals conceded right now in the Premier League, they're around 5th or 6th. That is very, very impressive. And I feel like the data is matching the eye test. Because as I said on my previous video, I have been very, very impressed with Daniel Farke and that Leeds side. So he's going to be in. Let's have a look at my midfield. Okay, so let's have a look at the midfield. Semenyo, after that Friday performance, has to be in. To be honest, I was planning to wildcard without Semenyo initially, but I know you guys will cook me now, so Semenyo's in. Crystal Palace is probably not a perfect entry point in Game Week 8, but the fixtures after that, City, for example, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, those are games that you tend to see being played on the transition for Bournemouth, which obviously suits Semenyo's skill sets. Also, Semenyo spoke about after the game where he was talking about how he's improved, let's say, his composure in front of goal. He's been working on that, and we're seeing it so far in the opening 7 games, so he has to be in. But Bukayo Saka is the third Arsenal player that I'm going to go with. And it was a real toss-up between Saka and Gyökeres. The reason why I'm going to go with Saka is, first of all, now we know Saka has, let's say, a share of penalties, which, listen, is a positive because before this week, we probably thought Gyökeres was going to take them. I don't think Saka is necessarily Arsenal's first penalty choice taker because we haven't had enough information to suggest that, but we do know now Saka's going to have his share, which is enough to sway me towards Saka. Also, it's not necessarily to do with Saka, it's more to do with Gyökeres, where I haven't necessarily been impressed with Gyökeres so far this season, and I feel like Gyökeres, there's therefore a player in there, but I also think Gyökeres has, like, let's say, certain types of goals that he will score, that we've seen him score at Sporting, for example. A lot of them, the balls down the channel, transitional based attacks. How many of those opportunities is Gyökeres necessarily going to get right now for Arsenal? I don't think it's going to be a lot, because Arsenal obviously keep the ball so well. They pin teams back so well. They've done it against Manchester City. And I feel like those opportunities now make Gyökeres, let's say, a worst asset for Arsenal, if that makes sense, in terms of how many times is Arsenal going to create opportunities where we expect Gyökeres to score. Not a lot. So that's why I'm leaning towards Saka over Gyökeres. And also, listen, I feel like there is going to be some rotation for Gyökeres coming in coming weeks. But to be honest, the same can be said about Saka. Sarr's the other one from Crystal Palace. I feel like if you wildcarded in game week 6, a lot of people are not going to have Sarr, which, listen, is a positive for me. Sarr probably don't have the best fixtures in terms of game week 8. Bournemouth, we know, are very, very tough. So that game week 9, they have Arsenal. But after that, they go with a run of Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, United, Burnley. That's a nice run for Crystal Palace. And as we know, Crystal Palace right now second for XG so far this season. You would want some of that attack, which is why I've gone with Sarr. I also have gone with Enzo Fernandez. And I'll be honest, this is one where a lot of people probably won't have him in terms of game week 6, game week 7 wildcarders. The reason I want to go with Enzo Fernandez, and I said this, Enzo Fernandez's box crushing ability and ability to time his third man runs is sensational. Like, for example, at the end of the game against Liverpool, Enzo Fernandez had a header. That was a late run into the box. Of course, he probably could have done better with the header, probably could have scored. But the timing of the runs, he does it so well. And we've seen it so far in the Premier League. For example, against West Ham when he scored. Again, it was a late run into the box. And looking at Chelsea's fixtures in coming weeks, they're going to face teams that are going to sit back. You're going to need those third man runs to break down those blocks, for example, isn't it? Which is why I think Enzo Fernandez is a brilliant FPL asset to have. And also, he's playing for Chelsea, one of the strongest sides. We know they're going to score goals. The only thing I would say on the selection is if Palmer's back, Enzo Fernandez will technically play a bit deeper, even though in position Enzo Fernandez still plays as a 10. Does that ruin Enzo Fernandez as an FPL asset? Slightly. Also because Palmer will then probably take penalties and Enzo Fernandez will be off them, which so far we've seen when Palmer hasn't played, Enzo has been taking penalties. So that's the only thing I would say on that. I've also gone with Sean Longstaff. And listen, I can afford other 5 million midfielders such as Josh Cullen from Burnley, who's been sensational for DEFCON. Starch from Leeds, obviously. James Garner, who I like as well. I've gone with Sean Longstaff at 4.9. Just because obviously, first of all, I'm bench boosting game week 9. Leeds have a good fixture. Also with Sean Longstaff, I watched the game against Tottenham, and as I said, he was the one taking set pieces, which again, a 4.9 million midfielder, decent on DEFCON, taking set pieces, playing for a very, very good side in Leeds so far from what we see. I'm really liking that pick. Plus, he's not going to play in most weeks anyway for my team, innit? So, saving at 0.1 is not too bad, which is why I've gone with Sean Longstaff. Also, as we know, and let's say seeing over Sean Longstaff, let's say Premier League career, he's very good at carrying the ball, and I feel like Leeds are obviously going to have a lot of games that are played on the transition for them. Could that suit Sean Longstaff in terms of his potential for getting forward, bombing on, potentially getting a goal, which he's already done so far in the Premier League against Bournemouth, I think it was? Maybe. Which is why I've gone with Sean Longstaff. But that is my midfield and defence. Let's have a look at the attack. Okay, let's have a look at the attack. And I'll be honest, it's one name that is locked in, and that is Erling Haaland. I don't think I have to say anything on him. Erling Haaland's current level is a joke. His fitness levels are a joke. His hunger is a joke. He spoke about after the game. He's the first name on my wildcard. The next two, I'm unsure on both of them. Let's start with João Pedro. João Pedro, listen, as I said before, even I've been very, very fortunate with João Pedro returns in my eyes this year. I don't think his performances have matched the FPL points that he has right now. In terms of, for example, look at the Brentford game where he got a very, very fortunate assist and he walked out with 2 bonus points. Last 3 games, he's only had 1 shot. It hasn't been great from an attacking point of view for João Pedro. Also, I feel like with João Pedro is the only reason I currently have him in my team is obviously he's not with the Brazil squad. After game week 8 or game week 8, they have a brilliant fixture, Nottingham Forest away. After that, we know João Pedro's suspended in the Champions League because of his red card, and they have Sunderland at home in game week 9. So we know he's going to play in those like couple of fixtures where Chelsea have very, very good fixtures. So he's there to stay for now. But of course, the other forwards that I'm looking at, Jared Bowen, Strand Larson, maybe downgrading that spot to a 4.3 or 4.4 million midfielder, striker, sorry. Also, Calvert-Lewin, because obviously he's a great option for a game week 9 bench boost. But João Pedro's there for now. Waldemar, he's another one where I'm not completely sure on him. Because I feel like game week 7, a lot of people are, let's say, on the Anthony Gordon hype. Game week 8 is probably leaning towards Waldemar now. We know Waldemar is second on penalties. The reason why I want to go with Waldemar over Anthony Gordon is, first of all, Anthony Gordon just keeps getting those early subs. And we know Newcastle are so much like good attacking depth in terms of the Harvey Barnes can obviously play on the left. And also with Newcastle and Eddie Howe, I said it before and I'll say it again, is that I think Newcastle and Eddie Howe are adjusting in terms of the way he uses his squad. I feel like he's learned a lot from the previous Champions League campaign where Newcastle picked up a lot of injuries. So that's why I feel like we're seeing a bit more rotation in that Newcastle, let's say, setup. So that's why I've gone with Waldemar as well. Because who are they realistically going to rotate Waldemar? We obviously got the news the other day that Wiss is out until the next international break, which from a Waldemar, if I'm an owner, is a positive. Of course, the likes of Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes potentially could play up front to take some minutes off. That is a concern. Also, another reason why, let's say, I'm not 100% convinced with Waldemar is I feel like I'm arguing with myself in this video. You're hearing both sides of the argument. Is I'm not too sure if I believe Waldemar is necessarily an explosive player in terms of FPL returns, if that makes sense. Can you really see Waldemar getting 2 or 3 returns? And I was looking at, let's say, his data at his previous club. We didn't really see that in terms of him getting 2 or 3 returns. He's obviously done it a couple of times with Germany's under-21 team. But for the senior, like let's say men's football, he hasn't really shown that. And I feel like it matches what you're seeing stylistically from Waldemar in terms of Waldemar is a freak of nature in terms of he'll drop deep, link up play. He does that so well. He's not necessarily, let's say, a pure number 9 like that, even though you would have, let's say, thought of it looking at his physique and stuff. He's actually a unique profile. He's a unicorn, like I always say with some players. But at the same time, Newcastle's fixtures in coming weeks are very, very good. Brighton, Fulham at home, West Ham away, Brentford away as the next 4 until Wiss is back after the international break. So I feel like for the next 4 fixtures, it's not bad me having Waldemar in to target those fixtures. So that's my current wildcard draft. That is my current wildcard thinking. Am I happy with it? Probably not. Is it going to change? Probably yes. I want to see what people say in it because obviously there's a couple players that I'm missing. I want Paqueta. I really, really want Lucas Paqueta from West Ham. I know that's probably going to be a name that you guys are saying, Baines, what are you thinking? But the reason I say I want Lucas Paqueta in my team as well is, first of all, West Ham have good fixtures coming up. Brentford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home as the next 4, so 3 home fixtures. We know Paqueta does well with Defco. We know Paqueta takes some set pieces now that Ward-Prowse is completely out the side. He is not a bad player to have because a lot of people won't have him. Plus that we know we expect West Ham to improve under Nuno. So I do want him. How do I fit him in though? I don't know, innit? I really, really don't know. Also, defense, am I missing anyone? Potentially. Joachim Andersen, I would want, but at the same time, I feel like with Joachim Andersen, game week 10 is obviously a brilliant entry point in terms of that's when Fulham's fixtures turn. But even before that, we know Joachim Andersen can pick up Defcon, which he does so well. So that's a player I want to have in my team, but I just don't know how to bring him in. Listen, there's going to be a lot of, let's say, thoughts over my wildcard. I'm going to do a lot of tinkering over the next couple or 2 weeks. But let me know what you think of my wildcard down below in the comments. Make sure you guys like the video, comment your thoughts on my team, and subscribe to the channel. And we will be back tomorrow.